G'day, Jack.
G'day. Oh, yeah, good. How are you?
Oh, good. We'll get going soon.
Sweet.
Kia ora, good evening, and welcome to the 82nd episode of the Huddy Hui. Apologies for the delay. We had a few technical gremlins, but we're finally here. Our guest tonight is the co-captain of the Wellington College First 15, who kicked off their season with a fantastic result against St. Pat's Town last week. Our guest is Jack Riley. Jack, many thanks for coming on the Huddy Hui. It's taken a while, but we're finally here.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me.
Of course, last Wednesday, you kicked off your season against St. Pat's Town in the 138th Traditional. Let's talk through the final minute. 37 metres out, time's up. Jade Burns is lining up a penalty on an angle. What's going through your head?
Oh, well, it was a really stressful moment for all of us. I couldn't really do much at that point, but one of the touchies was yelling at me. He was like, "Oh, stop moving, otherwise you get to retake it." So I was just calling out to my teammates. Everyone stop walking around, just stand still. That's all we can do, I guess. Just pray.
Hey, let's talk about those celebrations. Quite spectacular. You're pretty used to games being decided in the final minute.
Yeah. Well, the celebrations are really good. It's a really good part of the game. Shout out Macca's run. Supporters are, they're really good. And yeah, we've had a couple close games like the Scots one last year. That was a brilliant finish, just like the Town game, but I guess it went our way.
Let's talk about last Wednesday's game. A physical but scrappy game. What were the keys to the win?
Well, I guess boys really held their composure pretty well. Like, we didn't get too flustered towards the dying minutes. We did let that one penalty slip, but apart from that, our defense was solid, and I guess it was just the heart, and we managed to hold on.
Now, of course, what was the key to slowing down those Towns forwards? Because they're pretty powerful, particularly up close.
Yeah, well, going into the game, we knew that we were a small forward pack. So our coach, Otto, the forwards coach, he just said, bring that line speed up, go low, get them down early, and reset. Just go again. So I guess we kind of implemented that strategy, and it worked pretty well for most of the game.
Was the 138th Traditional? How important is this Traditional to Wellington College?
Oh, very important. It's one of the biggest events in our calendar, and the whole school's around you every year. So yeah, it's it's an unforgettable experience.
Two tries in last year's Traditional. You had a slight knock on this year. Explain.
Oh yeah, well, I was sort of trying to do the same thing last year when I took it off the back of the scrum and managed to get a try, but I guess it wasn't meant to be. Picked it up, knocked it on, then scored, but came back to the knock on. Unfortunate mistake, but is what it is.
So you were named as co-captain for 2023, alongside Jacob Kennedy, both of your year 13s. Let's talk about Jacob's 70-metre try. It's gone pretty viral, that video footage.
Yeah, well, he's a great player and he's really rapid. Like, he'll be the fastest in the comp for sure. So I guess if he just sees a little bit of space, he's gone. So yeah, it's a really, really great asset on the team, and it's interesting him playing on the wing. We had him at 12 or 13 last year, but I guess he shifted to the wing just so he can get a bit of extra space. But I think he's playing really well this season. So.
What's the feeling, when you're captain of probably the premier side at the college? What responsibilities come with that?
I guess it's just being a good role model. Like, I'm kind of representing the school and representing all the rugby players that and all the students at our school. So I guess that's always got to be in good form and lead the way for future captains and rugby players.
Got a new first five this year. You no longer have Stanley Solomon, who's sitting the club rugby alight with 10 tries from 5 starts, but you've got a pretty handy first five this year, and Archie Sims, who's stepped into those shoes well. Tell us about Archie Sims.
Oh, he's a great young gun. He's only year 11, so got a few more years left in the school, but no, he's really good. He got great vision, good hands and kicking. So it's definitely a bonus having another good first five. But he's going to be a weapon in the future. Got a couple more years to mature and learn the game. So I'm excited to see what he's going to be like next year and the year after.
How hard is it to play at Evans Bay Park, in particular last year's semi-final?
Yeah, bring back a lot of bad memories. But no, it's always a good challenge going out there with their supporters, lying on the sidelines, screaming all game. But no, it's always a fun experience.
Pre-season for Wellington College was quite a big one, but a tough one. What has the team learnt in creating a culture with some pretty tough games in the pre-season, particularly the Transit Festival?
Yeah, well, I guess it just some of the big losses, like especially against Hastings, kind of just brought us together, because against Hastings, I thought we were a bit individual and didn't really play that well as a team. So I guess suffering those big losses, it brings us together and it creates a stronger culture. So yeah, preseason, I think we used it pretty well, for the main part of the season. So yeah, looking forward to see how we can keep developing as a team.
And when did the pre-season start? Was it back in March after McKevany, or was it a bit later?
Well, we had some really early pre-season. That's kind of just like fitness and a bit of a get together, like starting all the way back in December. But that was just pretty casual. Like if you rock up if you don't have anything on. But it really started kicking off, I guess, more that February March kind of time where we had some consistent trainings and more people started coming. But by March, April, we're in full swing.
The Col team is very lucky to have 2 former All Blacks coaching the first 15. Tell us about the influences of your coaches.
Oh, it's amazing. Like it's so good to have the experience, especially from the Mayor and Pity, 2 All Blacks, and they command a lot of respect from the boys. Like being former All Blacks, like we get around them, we listen to them, and they lead us really well. And they give us great insight into the game because they've experienced it all. So it's really good to get behind them. And I think everyone, when they're talking, everyone shuts up and listens, and they're really good for creating a strong team.
How many players do you have back from last year's first 15?
We've got 4 cap players returning, and then a couple players who played a few games on the bench. So about 5 or 6 returning players.
Now, every school has different policies when it comes to earning a cap in the first 15. How does it work at Wellington College?
For Dub C, you've got to start 85% of the game. Start in the first game that counts as transit, so the Gisborne game. So you got to start 85% of the games throughout the season, and then start all 3 traditionals, including quad. So, and then at the end of the season, or towards the end of the season, that's when they'll start awarding caps. Last year was a bit different, a bit less strict, and a lot of we got caps earlier, so like before our final traditional. But I think this year it's pretty harsh, and you got to wait till the end of the season to earn your cap.
Now, of course, I've had the pleasure of meeting the headmaster, Glenn Denham. Started in term 2 last year. He seems to have the college humming, particularly on the sporting front.
Oh yeah, he's amazing. We had a weak principal, or not a weak principal, but someone who didn't really get behind the boys as well and support the sports. But since Denham's come, he's been amazing. He's really helped reamp the school culture that we lacked before, and like create a really good supporters crew. So yeah, he's been great.
Now, you guys last year, before your first home game in the competition, you walked into the pavilion and something was different. We talked to Stanley about it last year, but tell us about those changing rooms in the pavilion.
Oh, they're incredible, but we actually haven't used them since the end of last year, and I've heard that they've been you know the cricketing boys have renovated them a bit and changed them up, maybe repainted it a bit. So I'm not too sure what they're looking like currently, because we haven't been in there yet because we haven't had a home game. But they're amazing. I'm sure they'll be still in a great state when we use them.
Now, let's wind back the clock. Where did your junior rugby start?
I'm a West Roosters boy. Grew up, since under sixes. Played all my junior rugby through the West Roosters. Unfortunately, they don't have a premier team anymore, but yeah, that's my club.
And what other sports do you play, Jack? Because it seems in the background there you've got a bit of sporting memorabilia on the back wall.
Yeah, a couple of medals from rowing. I rowed for 3 seasons, and I stopped. Didn't do my final season. I finished in year 12, but yeah, and I also played cricket. Played a bit of social cricket, and I play currently, and I used to play a bit more competitively a few years ago. But yeah, those were my 2 main sports. But now I'm just focusing on rugby.
So when you did rowing, what was your main specialist area?
Well, for rowing, it's not really like a specialist area. You're all kind of working together, doing the same job on the boat. So I guess I was just, trying to put as much power into the oars as possible and get the boat moving as quick as we could.
Is number 8 your preferred position in rugby? And if so, why?
Yeah, I think so. Just because, it's loose forward is I just enjoy it because you're not quite like a top 5 where you're always stuck in, but you're not back where you're always out on the edges. You can kind of like move in between that. And then I like number 8 because it's a lot of, good ball running, especially off the back of the scrum. And it's, you get a bit more involved offensively as opposed to the flanks, but you're still making a lot of tackles and they've got a high work rate. So,
What's the best playing quality of Jack Riley on a rugby field?
I'm sure it's still yet to come, but hopefully, I guess, dying minutes of a big game, big final.
So 5 years at Wellington College. How have you enjoyed it? And do you have any other roles within the college in your year 13 year?
Yeah, I loved it. I have no regrets going there. It's been really fun the whole way. Teachers, students, everything's great. And for roles, not especially. I'm more just no, I don't really have any extra roles inside my school. Just sort of doing my job as captain.
Now, I believe in 2021, you were part of a special under-15 team that you captained. Tell us about that side.
Oh, that was a really fun year for me. I guess it was my first year that I kind of stepped up and took some responsibilities as a captain. But no, I had a lot of mates in that team, and we did pretty well. Beating Palmerston North boys the first time in a while, but unfortunately lost the semi-final to Town at Town, which is pretty, been there before. But no, it was a good year, and yeah.
Last year, you were in the Wellington under-16 team, and you played at the Hurricanes under-16 tournament. How was that tournament? But more importantly, what about that sports centre out there, the NZCIS? How is it being out there at that impressive facility?
Oh, it's incredible! Like the NZCA, it's just like it's insane. You walk in, there's a massive indoor gymnasium, like turf, like it's almost the size of a whole field, and it's like surrounded by like world-class training rooms and like massive, huge gym, and you really feel like a pro athlete when you're training there. That's why the under 16 tournament was a really cool experience, because you kind of got a taste of what it's like to, play professionally. And we would walk around there and see Hurricanes players and Black Ferns and all that kind of stuff. But and the under 16 tournament, that was good. We did pretty well. Like I was in the under 16 gold team. We made the final, but unfortunately lost to a strong 1 or 2 side. But it was still a really cool experience. So definitely want to do it again.
It's Rugby World Cup here, and there seems to be a theme with Wellington College and Rugby World Cup here, is that Wellington College get to host the annual quad tournament, the oldest quad competition in rugby in New Zealand. When is the quad tournament, and how is the college preparing for it? Because it's quite a big week.
Yeah, it's the quad tournament, I think, is in end of June, and yeah, we've got about 5 games in the space of like 10 days or something, with Saturday games still happening, plus a Monday and a Wednesday game for the quad. So I guess we're not really focusing on it too much right now. We're sort of focusing on the tournament, but yeah, we'll have some pretty intensive prep coming, I'm sure, towards in the coming weeks.
Last year's quad tournament was a tough one for the team. 2 close losses, but I believe there was a bit of bug going around the team as well.
Yeah, actually, a few of us are quite sick, including me in both games actually against Nelson and Wanganui. But the first game was a heartbreaker. I guess we had the kick to tie the game, which would have seen us through to the final. But unfortunately, it didn't go over, and just missed out. And then second game, it was a tough loss to Wanganui on the home turf. I guess they played. I remember they played really well. I guess they're fighting for that one at home. But it's unfortunate, but hopefully we can have some revenge this year.
Now, you mentioned it earlier in the broadcast, Scots College. That final kick, the magic of Stanley Solomon, winning it in the 84th minute. You're back there again this Saturday. Scots College at Scots College. How is the team preparing for this challenge?
Well, I've done a bit of research, and we know they've got a lot of big ball carriers. It's not too similar to town, so I guess it's going to be a big game up front for us. We're going to be we've got to make our tackles, bring their line speed up, and but yeah, we know it's going to be a big challenge, especially going out to Scots again. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Should be a good game, close game.
Now, of course, one of the other traditionals is coming up middle of June against Silverstream. It's always a big grudge match, that one. Last year, you kept them out to about the 70th minute until they scored late on the piece. You got them at home. Silverstream this year. Have you seen them play?
I've watched a little bit of them. I watched them play Hastings and Gisborne, but yeah, like we always knew they're going to be a strong team, and it looks no different this year. But I'm really excited for that traditional. It's a home, that big home. It'll be our biggest traditional year, so yeah, I'm just excited for it, to be honest.
What are your main studies at school, Jack?
I do a bit of science, a bit of physics and chemistry, but yeah, a bit of business, geo, but yeah, I guess it's more science is more my thing.
And what you're planning to do after you finish school in 2023? Are you planning on to study, or are you looking to go play senior rugby here in Wellington? What's your plans? They're probably early so far, but what are you thinking about?
I'm not entirely sure yet. I guess it depends how the season goes. I could end up staying here to play or hopefully Premiership rugby, or maybe go to university down south in Canterbury or Otago, where I want to continue my rugby down there, as well as studying getting a degree. But I guess I'll see what happens in the coming months before I make my decision.
We'll finish up with this last question. who's your role model or influence when it comes to your rugby career?
I guess I got the classic answers. Rich McCaw, because he's a great leader, and he's a goat. He's a great role model, and he's the kind of player I hope to be like.
Well, Jack, it's been fantastic having you on the Huddy Hui tonight. Apologies for the delays before. I won't be able to see you play Scots this year like I did last year, but go well, and hopefully the fields out there aren't too waterlogged like the rest of them here in Wellington.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Been a pleasure.
That is Jack Riley, the co-captain of the Wellington College First 15. Very humble and a hard-working player. It gives you a good insight into how Wellington College has been going in their rugby program. They had a great time last year. Narrowly missed out on making the final, with St. Pat's Town scoring late in the piece, as mentioned in the interview. But Jack Riley, keep an eye at him throughout the rest of this season. And they've got Scots this Saturday. And speak about the Transit Coach Lions First 15 Premiership. There's second round starts this Saturday. St. Bernard's have Mana. That's at 12:30, and that's going to be played at the Hut Rec as a curtain raiser to the other game on there on number 1, because if you see the St. Bernard's fields, well, unfortunately, they're mostly all mud. There's hardly any grass on them after last weekend, so I think those fields might be out of action. Wairarapa play host to St. Pat's Town at 1 p.m. over there at Wairarapa. Of course, Scots and Wellington College at 2:30. If it's anything like last year's game, it's going to be an absolute ripper. Rongotai play host to Hutt International Boys School at 2:30. And Tawa host St. Pat's Silverstream at 2:30 as well. But also, it's round 9 of the Swindale Shield this weekend. And we have a new top of the table. Parramatta Plymouton. Their top of the table is Upper Hutt, lost in the last minute to Tawa. So it's all on. The top 8 still undecided. You know, it's been a thrilling competition this year. So let's have a look at what games are on in round 9 of the Swindale Shield. The Avalon Wolves host the Upper Hutt Rams. Avalon, they had a gutsy performance against Petone last week, but unfortunately the weather didn't help them and they went down. And Upper Hutt will be looking forward to get back on the winner's circle, having lost to Tawa last weekend. Huddle Boys Marist at home against Oriental Rongotai. Could be an interesting one. Oris, of course, narrow loss last weekend against Marist St. Pat's. So what Oris team will turn up, we'll find out. Johnsonville versus Tawa. Now this is going to be a beauty. The Hawks on fire and Tawa 2 wins on the road. So that's there at Helston Park. That's always a good grud match, that one. Marist St. Pat's and Pornicky, the battle for Kilberty Park. That's at Evans Bay Park. Famous tradition there. The away team always takes their time going across the field. Norths versus Parramatta Plymouton at Pararua Park. Parramatta, probably the heavy favourites, haven't won that game probably for a very long time. Wellington play host to Old Boys University. And our game on Huddy Sports this weekend is Petone versus Wainuiomata. Wainuiomata doing it tough at the moment, but they always step up for this game against Petone. They play for the Darren Larson Trophy. This is Petone on fire at this time. So, never know. Petone wreck last week was a bit sodden and a bit wet. So that could be an interesting game. It's also going to be the 50th game for Mason Henry. Now, his brother Taylor and also Logan, who's also a Hurricane, last week started together in the starting 15 for Petone. So Mason Henry, 50th game next weekend. So that's the Huddy Hui for tonight. We potentially have 2 Huis next Wednesday at 7 o'clock on Wednesday, the 31st of May. Our guest next Wednesday, is a former Wellington Lion. He's won a Jubilee Cup with Huddle Boys Marist. And he's a good Silver Stream boy, member from my year group at school. And he's now enjoying the sun rays over the Gold Coast. Johnny Bentley is going to be our guest on the Huddy Hui next week. His rugby career has taken him from here to Australia to Europe. So we'll get a good insight into the rugby journey of Johnny Bentley. And then potentially Thursday, the 1st of June, we may have a very different kind of Huddy Hui. So keep an eye out for that. Probably next Wednesday we'll give you a better idea of what that Thursday Huddy Hui will be. So keep an eye out for that. That is the Huddy Hui for tonight. It's been a pleasure having you on. As always, enjoy your weekend. Ciao for now.